So my second question was to Jose, and it was something that, and it was something that I've made a note of from the minute I started reading the book. And it's funny that Rahul touched on it right in the. You were talking about how it's kind of symmetrical in the sense that your parents were academics, and then, but your father was a truck driver, and there's a whole question of class and class markers, and it and it's I'm really glad I got that little point too, because it was a question that I had the minute I started reading the book. You had mentioned this kind of distance and difference between your family and the way you thought and analyzed and researched and all the things that you were exposed to, being the first person with this level of higher education. And what struck me was that some of the strangely interesting markers of class or education, you started putting those in right in the beginning, right? So, whether it's literature, Sontag, Hemingway, Brecht, etc., etc., you talk about culture and the arts and music, and for example, you mentioned surrealism, along with Dura's colonial novel. So this is just like literally in the first few pages, but and it goes on, and I kind of keep underlining all those what I thought were educate kind of a class marker, because even and it doesn't have anything to do with money oftentimes, because world politics, so you can't really buy class, right? So but there is an interesting thing where you have it's all I'm wondering if I'm reading too much into it. I mean, I'm not an English teacher, I'm an architect really, but you know how English teachers are. It's like the guy's like, I just wrote it was a blue door because I don't know, I just wrote blue door, and the English teacher spends like the whole afternoon talking about the blue meaning, how blue and sad and blah blah blah. So am I reading too much into it? Was it unconscious, or was it a conscious decision? Or was there a specific purpose about inserting so many of these
Yeah.
references throughout?
Okay, I think that's a great question, Nini. I'll switch back to Portuguese. Eu acho que é uma ótima pergunta.
That's a great question.
Eu acho que tem duas formas que eu
And
respondo
I
essa
think,
pergunta. E a segunda tem me agradado cada vez mais.
and the
Eu acho que ela é mais
second
verdadeira.
answer pleases me more because
Na
I think
verdade,
it's
elas
truer.
funcionam em operação.
But
Primeiro,
I think both of them
eu,
work together.
eu
First of
sou
all,
eu opero um pouco assim.
I
Eu sou
operate
uma
like
pessoa
that a
que
bit. I
não sou aquele
am
tipo de pessoa
like
chata que
that
está
a bit.
conversando
I
com
am
você e a
that,
pergunta que eu mais faço é: Ah, mas você já
picky
leu aquele
guy
livro?
that when you're
Eu
talking
acho que
to
é um
me and
pouco
I
a ver
start
com o meu
saying, "Did
jeito
you
de
read
ver
that
o
book?
mundo,
Did you
né?
read
Eu,
this
eu
book?"
vejo um
It's my way
problema no
of
mundo
looking at the
e eu
world. I
penso num
look
livro.
at a problem
É
in a
basicamente
world and
assim
I think of a
que eu
book.
costumo funcionar
That's
mentalmente,
essentially
etc. Eu
how
acho que
my
essa é a
mind
resposta, mas
works.
eu acho que é uma resposta
But
pouco interessante, porque eu
I
acho que
don't
uma
think this
segunda
is an
resposta
interesting
que tem a ver com
answer.
o
There's
processo
another
de
answer
escrita
that
do
is
livro, que é o
connected
seguinte:
to the process
quando eu
of writing this
decido,
book.
em um certo
When
momento eu decidi que eu iria manter
I
as duas
decided
vozes,
I wanted to
né?
keep both
Uma voz, que é a minha
voices,
voz
my
literária, e a
voice,
voz
my
do meu pai, que
literary
também é uma
voice, and
voz
my
literária
father's voice, which
baseada
is also a
na,
literary
na,
voice,
na voz real
based
do meu pai.
on, his real
Uma
voice.
coisa que eu quis fazer foi
One
mostrar
thing I wanted
que
to do
essas vozes
was to show
acentuar o contraste
or was to sort
entre
of
essas duas
highlight the
vozes.
contrast between
E
these
acentuar esse
two
contraste
voices.
tem a ver com
Highlighting the
gramática,
contrast, it
tem a
has
ver
to do
com
with
escolha
grammar,
vocabular,
it
como
has
o
to do
Raul
with
já
word
mencionou e
choice,
deu
as
vários
Raul
exemplos, tem a ver
mentioned.
com ritmo, mas
It
tem a ver
has to do
também
with
com
pace
que
and rhythm,
instrumentos
but
eu
it has
olho o
also to
mundo.
do with, the tools that I use to
Então ali
look
eu
at the
estava trazendo uma
world.
série de
So with
instrumentos do meu
that,
pai,
I
que é a
am showing my
comparação, é
father's
a
tools,
fantasia,
making
é o
comparisons,
grande e o pequeno, é
drawing
a
from
distância e a
fantasy, what is
proximidade,
big and what
são
is
as
small,
imagens,
what
são
is
os
distant and
repertórios de
what is
pensamento
close,
dele, que eu trouxe
images,
com
what
muitos
is his
detalhes.
repertoire, and I
Eu
wanted to
uso a
add
citação como
color
um
to
as
that. So
citações
these quotes,
quase
my
como
father's quotes,
performaticamente para
from a
acentuar o
performance
contraste
aspect,
com as
they
formas
serve
de
to
ver o mundo do
highlight
meu pai.
the contrast, you know.
né? Então, ele
So
tem
these
uma
quotes
função que é a
are in
função
contrast with
literária,
my father's way to look at the
não é?
world.
Que não é o
There's a
único jeito que
literary
eu crio esse
choice there.
contraste, mas que
I
é um pouco
create contrast
performativo. Olha, eu
with
estou
in
ali
other ways as
performando
well, but it's
clássico no
sort
sentido
of
cultural,
a
citando
performance, you know, of
Marguerite
class
Duras ou
in a cultural
surrealismo
sense when I
ou
quote Marguerite
Susan
Duras
Sontag,
or
ou
Susan
seja,
Sontag
vamos
or the
outros autores
Surrealists.
que eu
You
leio. Eu acho
mentioned
que tem
some of the
pouco a ver com
authors
isso.
that I
Tem
mentioned.
terceiro motivo,
And there's a
que é o
third reason.
motivo que, em certo momento, eu entendi
At a certain
que havia uma
point,
missão,
I
uma missão
understood
escondida no livro,
that
que
there
era
was a hidden
transformar
mission
meu pai
in the
como um
book, which
personagem da
was
literatura.
to turn my father into a
Para além de ser um
literary
livro exclusivamente sobre meu
character.
pai,
So it's a book
transformar o
about my
Didi
father,
num
but I wanted
personagem
to turn
literário.
Didi into
Então,
a
quando eu
literary character.
menciono Telêmaco
So
do
when I talk about
Ulisses, ou quando eu
Telemachus
menciono o
from
personagem
Ulysses,
sem
or
nome
when I
da
mention
terceira margem do rio,
the nameless
do
character
Guimarães
in
Rosa,
A
ou quando
Terceira
eu
Margem do Rio, a
menciono,
book
não
by
sei,
João Guimarães Rosa,
Baldwin,
or when I mention Baldwin
ou Annie Ernaux, o que eu
or
estou
Annie
dizendo
Ernaux,
não é sobre a qualidade do
I'm
trabalho,
not
mas
talking
bom,
about
estou
the
falando,
quality of the
essa é uma
work.
conversa entre personagens, essa é uma
I'm
conversa
saying
literária.
that this is a literary
Essa não é uma
conversation.
conversa
This is a conversation
jornalística,
between
não é um
characters.
relato
This is not a journalistic
apenas
conversation.
memorialístico,
This is not
mas aqui
just
nós estamos entrando
memories
num
being
terreno que é
told.
de uma
We are
conversa,
entering the
não só entre
realm
pais e
of a
filhos, só entre
conversation not
classes
just between
sociais
father
diferentes ou
and son
gerações
or
diferentes,
between
mas
different
é uma conversa que
generations or
se dá no
different
terreno
social
da
classes, but
literatura.
this is a
Então tem
conversation
essa
that it's
outra
taking
dimensão
place
um pouco
in literature
de
as well.
amarração, de framing,
So there is this
que as
framing
citações me
as well.
ajudam, ou
And the
pelo menos essa foi a
quotes
intenção, me
help me,
ajudam a
or at
conseguir.
least that was my intention. They help me to achieve
Can
that.
I just add that there was some really pleasing thing about the quotation, the authors that Zay quoted. Obviously, Annie Ernaux is published by Fitzcarraldo, and then the quotation from Roland Barthes, one of them anyway, is also translated into English by Kate Briggs, who's
Yeah.
also another Fitzcarraldo.
Yeah.
So as I was looking for the original quotes, I found a lot of like pleasing little.
Is Svetlana Alexievich as well?
Svela, of course, yeah.
Yeah.